May 20th, 2013. On this day, an extremely violent tornado ripped through the city of Moore, leaving a path of unimaginable destruction and would claim the lives of 24 people, as well as 2 indirect deaths. It has now been 10 years since this historic tornado occurred, and today we will rewind back and reflect on this monster tornado. This is the reflection on the Moore EF5 10 years later. This is Moore, Oklahoma. Around this time in 2013, Moore had a population of over 57,000 people. Moore, Oklahoma, and the area in general is super used to tornadoes, and it's well known for that. In fact, I don't even need to tell you why tornadoes happen here, because it's so well known by this point. One example of Moore being hit by a tornado, apart from this tornado, is the May 3rd, 1999 tornado. On that day, an extremely powerful F5 tornado would strike Bridge Creek and Moore, and having the strongest winds ever recorded on Earth. And in fact, the May 3rd, 1999 tornado and the May 20th, 2013 tornado crossed paths, which makes the area where it crossed one of the few, if not the only time, an F5 and EF5 crossed paths. Now, it's time for the days leading up to this event. On the days leading up to the Moore EF5 tornado, the Storm Prediction Center will be monitoring a potential multi-day severe weather outbreak over the plains. And on the 18th of May, 2013, the multi-day severe weather outbreak went into full swing. And on that day, a large EF4 tornado would hit near Roselle, Kansas. Thankfully, there were no deaths of the tornado. On the 19th of May, the Storm Prediction Center would upgrade May 20th to a moderate risk, and also on the 19th, another EF4 tornado would occur near Shawnee, Oklahoma, in which 2 people are sadly killed. Already, this outbreak produced 35 different tornadoes, with 2 of them being violent. And then the clock turned to May 20th, 2013, a day that Moore and the area in general would never forget. At 1:10 p.m. Central Daylight Time, a tornado watch would be issued for Oklahoma. However, tornadoes weren't the main concern, as tornado probabilities were only 40-20. And the main concern in this watch was 4-inch hail. No one had any idea, and over an hour after this watch was issued, weather history would be made. Supercells would start to fire throughout late 1 p.m., and at around early 2 p.m., the supercell that would go on to produce the EF5 tornado would suddenly form southwest Oklahoma City and would start moving towards Moore. And at 2:12 p.m., the National Weather Service would issue the first warning for the supercell that would be a severe thunderstorm warning for half-dollar sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. However, this supercell still kept getting stronger, and by 2:41 p.m. Central Daylight Time, the National Weather Service would issue a tornado warning for Newcastle and Moore.
Let's go back up to Bob Moore Chopper 4 with this, what I think is a tornado on the ground, just northwest of Newcastle, just west of the Newcastle Casino by 2 miles. Go, John.
Yeah, Mike, right now we're kind of hovering.
At 2:50 p.m. Central Daylight Time, funnel cloud reports are starting to appear as K4 would track it. News K4 is a news station for the Oklahoma City area, and it's the same news station as well as News 9 that has the famous helicopter views that you may have heard of before. The K4 helicopter will be stationed near Newcastle as the tornado began to touch down live on air. The following clip you would see is the tornado touching down for the first time.
Zoom in right there, zoom in. Come back to your left iris up. There it is, Mike.
There it is.
If that is a tornado, there it is. It's right there on the ground. That's the clearest definition that we've seen from the air. A definite cone on the ground. So this is going to be just probably 4 or 5 miles north of I-44 where it turns down south on the Bailey Turnpike. It looks like it's tracking northeast from our spot. Let me turn here and get a little bit better picture.
I have to stop. This thing is getting bigger and bigger. This thing is getting large. It's moving fast. Okay, we've got damage. We've got damage. Okay, I'm watching it. Oh my God.
The tornado would fully condense and then cross 32nd Street as power flashes can be seen. The tornado would then start to rapidly intensify as it hit 35th Terrence Street at EF4 intensity with 200-mile-an-hour winds, according to the damage assessment toolkit. And what you're looking at right now is the 200-mile-an-hour damage indicator in question. The tornado will remain a strong EF4 tornado as it would rip through a house with an estimated wind speed of 170 miles an hour, which you can see on your screen. The tornado would then turn into a near wedge tornado as it would rip through more houses near the Canadian River at EF3 intensity before turning into a full-on wedge tornado as it crossed the river. A large, violent tornado was in progress. As it crossed the river, the National Weather Service worker using National Weather Service chat would say that a tornado emergency will be issued. And then mere moments later, a tornado emergency will be issued for more. Sirens began to roar as the EES would tell people to get to cover.
A tornado warning remains in effect until 3:45 p.m. Central Daylight Time for northwestern McLean, southern Oklahoma, and northern Cleveland counties. This is a tornado emergency for Moore in South Oklahoma City at 3:08 p.m. Central Daylight Time. National Weather Service meteorologists and storm spotters were tracking a large and extremely dangerous tornado located 4 miles west of Moore, moving northeast at 20 miles an hour. This is an extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation. If you cannot get underground, go to a storm shelter or an interior room of a sturdy building now.
Okay, folks, this is essentially, you never want to say it, but we're going to say it right now. This is May 3rd all over again as far as the intensity of this tornado, where it is heading. And something has to change fast or it's going to be very close to a May 3rd event. Never want to say that, but that's what we have right now. It is shrouded in debris.
Leonona Cobb and Steve Cobb would be one of the many parents who rushed back to school to pick up their kids after they got the alert on their phones. Leonona Cobb is a teacher at Briarwood and saw her class in the hall and decided to stay and comfort her class with nursery rhymes as the tornado started to get closer and closer. The tornado would reach EF4 intensity again after ripping through May Street, destroying many houses in the area and started to head straight for Briarwood, near an EF5 intensity. Steve Cobb would tell Ladina Cobb to get outside, and they would see the wedge tornado moving straight at them in Briarwood. They would run back inside and hide in a classroom. The teachers and parents that were there protected the kids and hunkered down as the wedge tornado neared. And then moments later, the tornado struck Briarwood Elementary School with an estimated wind speed of 190 miles per hour. Steve Cobb and Ladina Cobb felt a huge breeze rush through the entire school as the entire roof is peeled away. Parts of the school are completely swept as the people inside, including children, were fighting for their lives. It felt like it was never going to end, until finally, it passed. Although there were some injuries reported, there were thankfully no deaths in Briarwood. However, the tornado is still far from over and is now ripping through a subdivision.
Again, you cannot delay. You can't think, you can't delay. You've got to act. You've got to act. You can't think or delay. You've got to act and act and act to save your life and save your loved ones' lives. You've got to act. Linda Cavanaugh had important information about the school system.
At around 3:18 p.m. Central Daylight Time, the tornado would strike these two homes in the subdivision. It is here where the National Weather Service surveyors said the tornado reached EF5 intensity with an estimated wind speed of 201 miles an hour, according to the damage assessment toolkit. The tornado would then hover around high-end EF4 intensity as it would rip through the rest of the subdivision, now starting to turn towards Plaza Tower School, where more people, including children, are hiding in the school. Minutes later, the tornado would strike the school directly, with the same nightmare repeating itself all over again. Unfortunately, 7 kids were killed in Plaza Towers. May the people that died in Plaza Towers rest in peace. The tornado would then start to near the Moore Hospital as it would begin to slow down. The tornado would reach EF5 intensity again as it would start to make a loop near the hospital. The damage you're seeing now is the EF5 rated damage from the tornado as it looped around. It would hit a commercial building at EF4 intensity and the store would be completely annihilated. The Moore Medical Center would be struck at EF4 intensity. Sandy Jones is a clinic supervisor for the heart clinic that is located near the Moore Medical Center. As the tornado began to near, she as well as other workers and patients were funneled to a small break room as the tornado struck the Moore Medical Center and started to approach the heart clinic. Sandy Jones would talk to her daughter on the phone, not knowing if she'd be able to talk to her again after the tornado. Sandy Jones, before closing the break room door, would make sure to look at the patients and workers and make sure they were all in the break room. After that, she closed the door and sat down, and moments after that, the tornado struck. Sandy Jones would say that it didn't sound like a train, but more of a jet engine as the building is being violently demolished.
This is a May 3rd type tornado. I would just venture to say it looks like it's about an EF4. It could be an EF5. Makes no difference. You got to be below ground. Interior closet or bathroom is not going to do it, or get out of its way. Storm cellar, basement, or safe room, or below ground of any kind. Do not be in your car near the tornado. Drive away.
After the tornado passed, Sandy Jones found herself trapped under the rubble. Terry and Chad, who are first responders, arrived at the scene with what was left of the heart clinic. 14 people climbed out alive. However, 3 people still trapped in the rubble, including Sandy Jones. Terry and Chad would pull Sandy out of the rubble, and Sandy would be reunited with her daughter, who walked to the heart clinic in search of her. Fortunately, the other 2 people will be also pulled out of the rubble alive. Sandy Jones has a hard time believing how she survived something like that, even to this day. Jen Davis and Teresa Price, who worked at the Tinker Federal Credit Union, which is located right next door to the heart clinic, immediately took action when the tornado started to near. They gathered up a bit over 20 people, and they all went into the vault as the tornado neared. Some people were trying to keep the vault door shut, according to Dana Clark, who was one of the people inside the vault. As the tornado hit, the people inside could hear the entire building being violently demolished and knew there wasn't going to be much of a building left when they left the vault. When it was all over, everyone in the building survived. However, the building faced major damage, and the damage would later be related to high-end EF3. The tornado would then cross I-35 as the tornado remained at EF4 intensity. The tornado would cycle back up to EF5 intensity after destroying a well-built house on Blue Ridge Street with the slab completely swept clean and would rip through more houses at EF4 intensity. The tornado would hit another house on Southeast 5th Avenue at EF5 intensity before the tornado would finally leave the suburbs of Moore. However, the tornado was still a very violent tornado as it would approach a house near Southeast 4th Street and Sunny Lane Road. The entire 2-story house would be completely swept clean and wasn't even sold yet by the time the tornado hit. This one is the most recent EF5 damage indicator according to the Damage Assessment Toolkit as a recording on May 20th, 2023, and would be the last EF5 damage indicator of the tornado. As it crossed County Lane at EF4 intensity, the tornado finally started to weaken as it crossed Sooner Road. The tornado started to get smaller and smaller before ripping through a farmstead at EF2 intensity. And finally, at around 3:35 p.m. Central Daylight Time, after being on the ground for over half an hour, the tornado roped out near South Air Depot Boulevard, live on air.
It's roping out a little bit, and this is over like 149th Street and maybe just the east side of Air Depot Road. There it is. It's gone, Mike. So let's see. We're going to stay right here. We're going to see if it recycles, but it's completely roped out, or it's continuing to rope out as we speak right now. And it looks like it's roping out at Air Depot Road, and I'm going to say 134th Street, right in that area. I don't know how to explain it, how to describe it. This is terrible. This is war zone terrible. This school is completely gone.
In the end, 24 people lost their lives, as well as 2 indirect deaths, including 7 children. The tornado did around $2 billion in damages, and the damage it left behind is just unimaginable. This is what Moore looks like today. As you can see, nearly everything's been rebuilt, including Briarwood and Plaza towers. Both schools had to be completely rebuilt from the ground up, and new storm shelters have been built into the schools to make sure another person doesn't lose their life from a tornado in the schools. The Heart Clinic wasn't rebuilt. It was demolished and sat as an empty lot, and the only thing left was the parking lot. However, from the satellite image, you can see that new construction is occurring, so that's a good sign for the future for this lot. The Tinker Federal Bank was rebuilt and has been running business as usual ever since. The Moore Hospital had to be completely torn down, rebuilt from the ground up. This is what the hospital looks like today. The road to recovery for Moore was a long, painful one. However, with the huge efforts from Moore in areas around the country, Moore was able to recover and has been growing ever since. And although Moore recovered physically, the scars still remain in people that went through this event, and this day in Moore history and the people that died will never be forgotten, even 10 years later.